And I'm here as always with Heather Cox.
I'm Heather Cox, co-mastermind of Diversity Mastermind, coming to you from Marina Del Rey today instead of Las Vegas.
Yeah, she's on location. And we're going to talk about business unusual. What happens when business as usual becomes business unusual? Nope, got to start over.
It's when business unusual becomes business as usual.
I know. Let's start it over. We'll just start over. Okay. Hi, I'm Liz Whitehead, co-mastermind at Diversity Masterminds. And I'm here as always with Heather Cox.
I'm Heather Cox, co-mastermind of Diversity Mastermind, coming to you from Marina Del Rey, California this time, instead of Las Vegas, Nevada.
And we're going to talk about what happens when business unusual becomes business as usual. And we're here with our special guest today, Melanie Rae. Hi, Melanie.
Hi, Liz. Hi, Heather. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here.
Oh, of course.
We were so excited when we met you. We were like, she has to be on Business Unusual. She has to.
Yeah, and we're going to get into it. We're going to get into business unusual. But before we do that, tell us a little bit about you and your guided business plan and your business.
Well, I would love to share with you something about guided business plan because I have met both of you at various conferences for women who are aspiring to get corporate contracts. And so I think because our paths kept crossing, that's why I'm here to share with your audience tips and advice on how I've been able to persevere and grow my entrepreneur education company into a national training platform that really helps people reach their goals. I say their success destinations, keep them on a guided path. So Guided Business Plan is an entrepreneur education firm based in Los Angeles. We've created a series of books that could take someone from being unemployed to scale their business, to go after government or corporate contracts by attending our training classes directly with us, or by working with one of our entrepreneur educators across the country.
I love it. I know, it's great. We have seen a lot of each other and we're going to do more together because we have such complementary stuff. So tell us a little bit.
Which, by the way, is like the beauty of being part of these diversity networks, right? Is that none of us are experts in everything. And so when you find people that have synergistic businesses or businesses that, like, even if you overlap like a crevice, okay, fine, but you can help each other. You can really like help build each other and promote each other. And I think that's one of the things that's so overlooked in the diversity network.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on to that, the whole certification community, I feel like that's where I really started to grow once I became involved and started to show up, because that's the main thing. Once you show up, then people start to trust you. And then you also hear about all these other opportunities. So even if it's virtual or online, and some of my close friends are because of people that I've met at these shows.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to hear a little bit more about that too. But let's talk about, so it's business unusual. And we started this, when COVID started. How, I know that you did a little mini pivot during COVID, or it forced you to do some things a little faster than you were planning to do. Tell us a little bit about COVID. How was your COVID?
I feel like I was in a cave for the most part, just scrambling, constantly scrambling in terms of seeing all these newsletters that were coming out or emails that were coming out. Well, these are resources. This is what you can do to get grants. This is what's going on. And it was just a constant frantic pace, which I'm sure you probably experienced as well. One of my regrets is that I did not have my digital component up yet. So I have been asking clients for years, do you want to start doing online webinars? Do you want to have this kind of, a long distance learning essentially? And there wasn't a strong interest. So I didn't invest much time into it. And then once it hit, so many other people were able to offer online classes in business planning and other things. And here I was still locked into a couple other projects where I had to be more creative and not really get online as fast as I wanted to. So my pivot now, though, is that I have created a platform where I'm working directly with business owners. My target are women, the career professionals that are feeling like, after everything that's gone on over the past year, I really feel like my calling is elsewhere, or they want more flexibility, or for whatever reason, they want to create their business now. So I want to create that community where it's really focused on a niche audience, where we can just come together and be a peer group, follow in step with one another, share ideas, share goals, and use some of the tools that I've learned over the past years to help them get to their goals faster. So what I mean by that, because that just sounds so broad, is that, for example, instead of just saying, I need to create a business plan, let's talk about the who, what, where, why, and how of your idea. use that text, put that on your website, on your About Us page, put that on a sales page. And then now you can go out and pitch your company to a business. So instead of just creating these long documents, let's create some tools which could actually generate money for you within the next week or two. And so I'm all about sharing apps. I mean, I've been aware of apps, you know, since mid 2000s when I started kind of going out on my own, but even now it's just coming faster. And it's amazing how big of a business somebody could create with these apps. And some of them are free. I'm always trying to find free stuff.
Yeah. Well,
So we love free stuff. What's your favorite one? If you have like one that you're like, oh my goodness, this solves problems for 85% of the people that I talk to.
Well, Canva is a huge one, but that's one of the ones that people talk about often. I'd say one pager. So one pager and ClickFunnels, and that's a whole nother story in terms of automated sales funnel. I really highly encourage people to explore automating their sales funnel, not the traditional sense, but just new internet online funnels in general. There's a few competitors in that space, but I would say ClickFunnels is a strong program. And one of the programs that they have is one pager. And that allows me to create these online worksheets. So that way, when I offer these training programs, instead of sending out PDFs or PowerPoints or handouts, they're able to actually use the worksheet while we're going through the class. So onepager.io.
that would be great.
One, but there's many of them.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Melanie and every time we talk, we trade different things that we're using. So I truly appreciate that. And I love this idea of taking people who are thinking about something new, because I think someone was saying this, and it might have been on Business Unusual, where like we haven't even crested the wave of people that are going to leave their jobs and start their own businesses, because I feel like the word of Business Unusual, besides P word, besides pivot, is flexibility. You know, like that's what everybody wants to keep from this business disruptive time, is that they want flexibility. And I think as people go back to what was their traditional job before, they might find that not everybody's as committed to keeping that. So entrepreneurship.
You also have the issue of their employer may not be committed to keeping them. So along those same lines, how secure is their position? What kind of backup plan do they need? But I think a huge thing is realizing, especially when you hit maybe your 40s and your 50s, could be even earlier, is have I accomplished what I wanted to? Am I impacting the people that I need to touch? Because if you start a business for the right reasons, you're serving somebody. And so are you fulfilling that goal for your personal self, and then just inviting others to join you on the process?
Yeah. How did you start your business? That's a good segue into that. How did you know that this was your calling?
Well, actually, I guess I kind of fit my avatar that I'm going after, because I was working full time. I really enjoyed my job. I was a department of one in this larger company doing training, Microsoft Office training. So I supported about 650 employees. If they had a question on how to use Excel, Word, or what have you, I would help them out or teach classes as well. And so at that time, I wanted to take another sabbatical, and I wanted to continue my proficiency in learning another language. And so that's when I wasn't able to do that, because, you know, how many people can take sabbaticals when they've only been there a certain time? Then I said, you know what, I want to leave and I want to start my business. And so it has evolved. I left without a business plan, because I had attended a couple of community workshops and they just didn't inspire me. They gave me so much information to read, and it just didn't work out. So I just left without a plan. And so for years I struggled through the process. And then once I realized how I could teach business planning, teach what I wish I would have known, and then package that, that's when my program evolved. And so that was 2009 when the guided business plan actually started to take shape. And it took another 2 years for me to figure out who my audience was. And that's a huge thing. You guys may have experienced that or not, or maybe you've had mentors, which is a huge asset, having mentors and peer groups. But I didn't realize for 2 years who my ideal audience was at that time. And so that's why that process had stalled. But essentially, I work with a lot of small business development centers to say, you're already doing these classes, you need some kind of materials, why not use my program? And so I just spent many, many hours, thousands of hours at cafes across the country, either attending events or just showing up at a Starbucks with my laptop, being there for 5 hours. You know, I was the one where someone would come in the morning, see me, and then come back in the afternoon and still see me there. So it has evolved now, and I'm just really excited because of all the content that's there. So I started my business, I guess, officially in 2009, this current iteration of it. And it was just to start a book about business planning, but now it's really about entrepreneur education, taking someone to various success destinations.
So I have a question. So first of all, when you're doing the diversity certifications, some of them, if you have not been in business for 3 years, you require a business plan. And I'm always like shocked when somebody who has a brand new business, like under a year, had nothing at all. They just kind of like are like shooting from the hip, right? The other thing is my husband is currently doing it. I'm going to be doing it as the 10,000 small businesses from Goldman Sachs. Have you been a part of that program? Because I feel like some of the things that you offer, there's a lot of synergies there. Like what you offer would be a great addition to what they're already doing, because they really show, the importance of a business plan, even the evolution of your business plan as your company grows and changes.
I'm not part of the program. I remember when it started. I actually had my business before it started. And so when I entered the market, there were about 4 organizations that were offering training specifically for entrepreneur educators and reaching that small market. And even though they had $1 million budgets and lots of people on their staff, it was just me and my cafe cup. I said, I'm going to start approaching these people anyways. And it was really good when people said, you know what, I don't want to work with them anymore because I'm seeing the results that you're offering. So there are so many entrepreneur education programs out there. So I just recommend that people get into one of them, whatever it is, because that's what's going to keep you going, is having that peer group around you.
Yeah.
And Liz and I find that a lot, that people, because there are other organizations who offer programs that they say are similar to Diversity Masterminds curriculum. And then when the business owners take the program, they're like, oh my goodness, this is actual usable information that's like actionable items from the first second of the program. And I think it's because it's entrepreneurs teaching the program. But do you find that makes a huge difference, that you are an entrepreneur yourself and you understand the trials and tribulations, the ups and downs, right, of being a business owner versus a large company who probably doesn't have all those trials and tribulations?
Exactly. Like when they say, oh, just spend $500 on that, make it happen. Like, well, I don't have that $500. So then you got to figure that out. But I mean, just when, like, your personality right now, both of you, your personality, that's what attracts people to your program. Why it's different. So yeah, you can go online, you can watch a video, but it's not the same thing as having somebody who's like, I've been there. I know this is about to come up for you. This is how you can avoid it. And this is what I've done, or these are resources that I recommend. Because that's the hard part, especially for me, is to find the people who are willing to, give it their all in terms of they say that they can provide the service for you. I want them to provide it and then to be excited about it, like I am for my clients. So I know that's how you guys do as well, in terms of, and you've continued to grow too, but I know at the core it was certification, but now it has grown into different ways to, introduce your company to different corporate buyers, but it's also your network. I mean, the fact that you work with somebody, you're like, oh, I know so-and-so who needs that. So you're not going to get that from a YouTube video or someone watching a YouTube video. So that's why it's important to invest in these programs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just learned about this really interesting phenomenon. It's not an interesting phenomenon. The way they named it is, when you're in like a group, like if there was like 10 of us at the WeBank conference or NMSC conference, and they call the reciprocity ring. Have you guys heard of this? Where you go around the circle and you say something that you need in your business or to help you out to move forward, whatever. And then the people in the ring get the opportunity to tell you about a resource they know, or a referral that they know, or maybe it's what their business offers, right? But you go around that way, you're not outright, like, we've all been to those conferences where there's people who are like, oh, so let me tell you what I do for a living. And we're like, we don't actually, we're just here having our we really weren't asking you. But like, this is like an actual way to organically have everybody talk about and find out what you need from each other. Because as you just said, like, we all know people. And one of the things that I always tell people when they go to conferences is never underestimate anyone you ever meet, because every single person knows something or somebody you don't, and has an idea that would never ever come to you, whatever it is. So that reciprocity ring kind of gives it a way to facilitate the ability to share those ideas and ask for them when some people have a hard time asking.
So 2 things. So one thing I want to talk about, just a quick tip when you do go to a conference, because first of all, the conference hotel usually is more expensive than what I want to spend money for. So I stay at a different hotel. So you can save money that way. But I spent all my time though at the conference. And so attend an event early. So get there maybe 15 minutes ahead of time of a workshop, because you might end up talking to the actual speakers, or you may talk to someone else who's just there early who is ambitious as well. So get there early and talk to somebody as opposed to staying in the back. When you're walking different places, find that person's walking by themselves and just make a comment about whatever you see. And then that conversation starts as well. I'm trying to think of what else. I'm not one to follow people to the bathroom, but at lunch, definitely at lunch, you don't want to pitch yourself, but you do want to position yourself to be with others and not just sit with who you know. So those are the first three things that come to mind in terms of making the most out of these conferences. But you talked about the reciprocity circle. I just came across a website called Tribe Up, and it has that vibe. So I'm new to it, so I can't really talk specifically, but I've heard others who keep talking about how great it is. So the whole point of Tribe Up is really to get people talking about their interest. So it's like-minded individuals, but instead of pitching your business, you're just pitching, hey, I like to go hiking, or I like to do this. Let's get in a group and talk about this challenge. So that's a way for people to support one another, and then it organically grows into, oh, I know someone who might need this from you.
That's great.
That's great. I love all those things that, because we always talk about when you go to conferences, when you meet people, don't just jump in with a business, build an actual human relationship. And so those types of platforms give you the ability to do that, especially if you're not someone who's naturally good. Like my kids always joke that I could talk to a wall and have an hour conversation and be perfectly content in my conversation with this wall. But not everybody has that ability to just strike up a conversation with somebody. So if you don't, these are great ways to facilitate a conversation and find out what you have in common with people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be that long too, 5 to 10 minute conversation. You've made that connection. And that's the whole thing, is that you have to make more than one connection anyways.
And that's how we met. I was going to say, that's how we met at a conference. And it's sustained. That was 2 or 3 years ago. So we've stayed in touch, which is great. So how have you been doing this?
At least 2, because we've been on the conferences for 2 years.
Yeah, that's true. At least 2. Time is weird now. So I can't quite get a handle on it. So how have you been doing that networking, or how have you met new people during COVID when we can't go to events in person?
I'm involved in CEO Success Community. And so that is a peer group, accountability group, where we're sharing information all the time. Marianne Ellis and Janet Lionheart have posted that for actually a couple of years now, because I met them initially in 2018 as part of a WeBack West Platinum Supplier Program, which is something else that people even outside of the region should attend. Just as an overview.
Only this year can they. Until recently, it wasn't open to anybody outside of WeBack West. So that's
true, because it was in person. Yeah, but really,
right. But WeBank also is requiring that all regions now make every program available to all certified WBEs. I just learned this on our national forum call. Brand new information to me, also. But
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I just learned that. Yeah, they just shared it. We had a national forum call for WeBank West, and they were saying that, because I said, sometimes you go to these events, even though you're certified through WeBank, you can't participate. And she's like, not anymore. WeBank is requiring that everybody able to participate in every event or program across the country.
Wow.
So, yeah, you guys said something beforehand, but I think that just led to the fact that there's no reason not to be involved. That's the huge thing, is to show up. Oh, so you asked about how did I meet people? So yeah, I just continue to show up to different events. I mean, especially now where you don't have to have all that T&E costs associated with it. Show up to different events. Like, for example, the Veterans in Business Network, Veterans in Business. I'm not a veteran, but I've been part of the community for a while, but that conference is open up to everybody. And because you had these billion-dollar brands that were there and willing to listen, I was able to make connections with some of the biggest, telephone companies and, everything else that they offer as well. So I just say show up to different events.
Are you going, Melanie, to VIB?
Yes. I've been,
I'm gonna be there too.
3 years. I feel I saw you at that one too. I'm telling you, it was like a circuit of conferences at one point.
Yes.
I'm not going in
Probably, I
person,
know.
but virtually.
Oh, I'm going in person to Sacramento because I just feel like it's just, you get so much more out of a conference when it's in person. And so some of the things are virtual, some of the matchmakers are still virtual, some of them are in person, but still I'm going, I get away from the kids that way. I'm
But I think one of the biggest reasons to go to the conference is to get the information, but also the connections. The fact that you can talk to one of the speakers beforehand, you can reach out to them on LinkedIn and say, hey, I know you're coming, you went, can we talk afterwards? So I think that's really helped.
Absolutely. Having a reason to get in touch. Like that's what I talk to people about all the time, where they're like, okay, now I have to follow up. So I just follow up every 6 weeks. I just put it on my calendar. I'm like, well, it's better if you have a reason that you're reaching out to them. And this provides a great reason. I saw you there. I heard what you said. I actually listened to you. And you can get a lot of, it's the way you do your market research. So it's awesome.
I attended a
one of the
conference
things, Melanie, I'm
recently.
interested. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I attended a conference recently and Facebook was presenting and they said that they have a portal where anyone could sign up and pitch to them. So that was pretty, it was enlightening to me, the fact that, just anyone can sign up for a 15-minute slot. And of course, they're going to do a preview first, they're going to vet you, but just that you have that access. So other organizations may have that as well.
Yep. Yeah. And how do you,
I'm interested to see if you find this the same way. So one of the things that Liz and I talk about a lot in Diversity Masterminds is that, matchmakers are great, but they're not the end all be all, right? So sometimes it's just a matter of setting aside some time. And so one of the people, the idea is then sending out, you can choose, you can invite some of the corporations to meet with you while you're there. And one of them declined. She was like, nope, don't want to meet you, Heather. So I was like, wait, what? Everyone wants to meet me. Why are you want to? But she said, come to my booth. I'll be here between this time and this time. I'd really like to talk to you in person. Maybe I'm not understanding, whatever. So we're still having like that face-to-face time, and I'm not bound by those 2.5 minutes they give you for the actual matchmakers, right? So do you find that you also make some of those really good meetings when they're not even official matchmakers and you go to conferences and you go to events?
More so. And the VIP really stands out. I remember being downtown, I think it was the Biltmore Hotel, and there was somebody who was bored, really. there were not a lot of people coming to our booth at that time. And so we ended up talking for like half an hour. And we ended up not ever doing business together because I don't have a product. That's what she's specifically looking for. But I was able to refer people to her at various times. So I think finding opportunity, basically just being there. And so not heading up to your room at the, during the breaks and not hanging out with people that you already know. And I think one of the great things about you with Diversity Masterminds is that you will introduce people at the time. And especially you, Heather, the fact that people know who you are. I mean, I just remember you in that Wonder Woman dress. They're not going to forget that. So, it's,
Liz has the same dress. Wait till you see the dress I got for this year's conference.
And so I think you have something like that they're going to remember you. And it's the power, like that. What she says is that I believe in the Wonder Woman values, and that's what I bring to the table. And so that also is something that's maybe not even planned, but it's a way to make a connection with somebody and to stay top of mind.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just think about how much the three of us have learned on this call, and there's just three of us here. So that happens exponentially when you're in the room with other people that want the same things as you and Melanie are as generous as you are in terms of sharing things that you've learned. So when people want to get in touch with you, so people want to start a new business, they want that entrepreneurship education, how should they get in touch with you?
Right now, I'm having people come to my main website, which is guidedplans.com, but I'm really excited to launch these new platforms. And so you're going to be able to start there, but be able to join a platform where it's geared toward women who are starting up, changing from executive to CEO, chief executive officer of their own business, and then also a track specifically for established businesses that are new to procurement. And that they just want to be with people who will help them create those tools to set aside time for work sessions. So I'd say just have everyone start at guidedplans.com. But we're doing a lot of stuff together. So they're going to see a lot more of Guided Business Plan and Diversity Masterminds together.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank
It was
you.
really
This
fun.
time went by fast. So I appreciate you for doing this. And I look forward to checking out some of your other podcast series.
I appreciate it. And thank you. And we will see you next time on Business Unusual.